A fallen Maya has been defeated by an alliance of man, elf and dwarf, and the great Lord Isildur personally cut down the Dark Lord Sauron. The lands have become free once more, and Middle-earth seems to be at peace at the start of the Third Age. Fast forward 1,000 years, and another Maya appears off the coast of Middle-earth. An old man dressed in white appears, whose purpose is to act as an emissary of the Valaar. This being was Saruman the White. The peoples of Middle-earth would get to know him as a man of great wisdom and power as he travelled, but though he was once wise, he ended his life a fool, and today we will be exploring the tragedy of Saruman the Wise Fool. 5 wizards were sent to Middle-earth to act as emissaries, and Saruman was the first to arrive, having volunteered to go. He was also recognised as the chief of the wizards, and his name translates to man of skill or cunning in the Anglo-Saxon dialect Mercian, and we will see his skill and cunning throughout his life. So he spent most of his early years in the east of Middle-earth before returning to the west. So we're going to fast forward the first 1,000 years or so of Saruman's life in Middle-earth and jump to the year 2463, the year Sauron's lost ring was found and the White Council formed. So despite Galadriel's desires, Saruman is made leader of the White Council, and their purpose was to counter Sauron. Just shy of 300 years later, in the year 2759, Saruman makes Isengard his home and promises to help defend the west. He is given the key to Orthanc and finds one of the 7 seeing stones, a Palantir. Sauron begins to increase in power in Dol Guldur until the year 2941, where Saruman and the White Council attack and force Sauron to Mordor. Everyone still thinks Saruman as an ally against Sauron until the year 3018, where Gandalf seeks Saruman's counsel and realizes Saruman has replaced his white robe of one of many colours. Gandalf is imprisoned and Saruman's army is formed. The year 3019, things start going downhill for Saruman. He sends his army to Helm's Deep to conquer Rohan, leaving Isengard somewhat defenceless. The Ents avenge all the destruction to Fangorn's forest and flood Isengard, trapping Saruman in his tower. In the September of the same year, he enters the Shire to get revenge on the Hobbits and introduces a reign of terror and industrialization, only to be killed on 3rd of November 3019 by his servant Grima Wormtongue. Successors. So as Saruman wandered Middle-earth for over 3,000 years, you would assume he had some notable successors. And you'd be right. We're not going to go into the specifics, but it makes the tragedy more tragic knowing the heights which Saruman fell from. So as mentioned previously, Saruman was head of the White Council and chief of the wizards, so had respect for his peers like Gandalf and Radagast. So Aragorn summarises how great Saruman was with this quote: "Once he was as great as his fame made him. His knowledge was deep, his thought was subtle, and his hands marvellously skilled, and he had a power over the minds of others. The wise he could persuade, and the smaller folk he could daunt. That power he certainly still keeps. There are not many in Middle-earth that I should say were safe if they were left alone to talk with him. Even now, when he has suffered a defeat, Gandalf, Elrond, and Galadriel, perhaps now that his wickedness has been laid bare, but very few others." So Aragorn is a wise man, and he recognises the heights Saruman reached with his knowledge and skills, so if very few people could stand up to him when he was at his lowest, then when he was at his greatest, he would have been formidable. Fall to the dark side. So Saruman was a nuanced character. He wasn't simply good or simply evil, and he didn't just become evil. Throughout this section, we will see Saruman tempted with power, and this slowly chips away at his noble intentions until he seeks to serve and replace Sauron. So we will start at the beginning. 5 wizards were sent to Middle-earth, and Saruman arrived first. The reason for this? He left his companions behind. He had contempt for Radagast, so left him behind, so not a noble or heroic start. Things get slightly worse. He discovers Círdan gave Gandalf Narya, an elven ring of power, even though, as Gandalf puts it, his knowledge was deep, but his pride has grown with it, and he takes ill any meddling. The law of elven rings, great and small, is his province. If anyone was to be gifted an elven ring, it should be Saruman. It's his area of expertise, and he is the head honcho, the top guy, numero uno. Gandalf getting this gift began planting the seeds of jealousy. Not good for someone tempted with power. So Saruman began to decide not doing the right thing in order to serve himself. We see this in the year 2851. He prevents the White Council attacking Dol Guldur, hoping Sauron's rise in power and influence would cause the Lost Ring to reveal itself. 90 years later, Dol Guldur is attacked, and delaying attacking an evil that cannot be reasoned with is not a great plan. The jealousy seeds planted years and years ago have grown. Saruman starts to spy on Gandalf and the Shire in around the year 2953. Saruman, in his arrogance, uses one of the Palantir in Orthanc and found himself wrestling with Sauron and wrestling with much more temptation of power. So his fall to the dark side is complete in the year 3000, where he wants to either share Sauron's power or acquire the One Ring itself and usurp Sauron. So he's loyal to no one as he schemes only for himself. Commentator Patricia Mayer-Spax has this useful quote which neatly describes Saruman's fall. One of the main case histories in the book of the gradual destructive effect of willing submission to evil wills. So from before his arrival on Middle-earth, Saruman was willingly doing wrong until he's fully corrupted and forsakes his purpose, joining Sauron. Fall to folly. Saruman was corrupted by power, but there was a chance of redemption, like for Boromir, who wrestled with some similar temptations. After the Ents lay waste to Isengard, Saruman is defeated. Sauron has no time for someone he knows betrayed him, as a year earlier, in 3018, one of Saruman's spies told the Nazgûl about the Shire, something Saruman denied knowing anything about. His former allies came to talk to him. Gandalf reaches out with a chance of redemption, but Saruman is proud. He rejects any help, and Gandalf breaks his staff, leaving Saruman with one power left: his voice. He uses this power to persuade Treebeard into letting him go, and he goes to the Shire for vengeance. He takes over the Shire and introduces a reign of terror until the 4 heroic hobbits arrive and stand up to him. So Saruman could have left the Shire, but finally Grima Wormtongue snapped. Wormtongue had been abused many times by Saruman and now had a chance to escape him. Saruman's once loyal servant stabs his master, so Saruman's spirit is then barred entry to the halls of Mandos, so he wanders completely powerless. He sought power and lorded power over his servants, but in the end became powerless. The tragedy. He wasn't inherently evil or good. He wanted knowledge, power, and had great skills. However, he didn't use these desires or skills wisely. He was a great wordsmith, but used it to manipulate. He was an expert in rings of power, yet thought he could possess the One Ring to supplant Sauron. Saruman had many opportunities to turn from evil. He had 90 years to fight Sauron in Dol Guldur. Gandalf gave him a chance at Isengard. Frodo offered him a chance to leave the Shire peacefully. If it wasn't for Saruman's foolish pride in himself, he may have gratefully helped Gandalf after realizing his mistake, but he goes down a path of vengeance. Could Saruman's fall to the dark side and to folly have been avoided? I say yes. If Manwë kept Saruman from coming to Middle-earth, all the events of Lord of the Rings would have gone differently. However, that absolves Saruman of accountability. He was a Maiar. He knew what was right and good, and chose to act differently. So his fall to the dark side was shown to be avoidable in Gandalf. Gandalf comes back after fighting a Balrog as Gandalf the White, or as Saruman should have been. Gandalf dares not take the ring or use the Palantir, both things Saruman either desired or did. So if Saruman was more cautious and humbler, not thinking he could match Sauron, then he could have remained Saruman the White, a much respected and admired wizard. So instead he fought only to serve himself and to grow in his own power and ambition, and died powerless, barred entry into the halls of Mandos and forced to wander, the once great wise wizard reduced to nothing due to his folly and being corrupted by temptations. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts. I'll talk again soon.